Hi friends! Unfortunately, the watchful waiting period of my follicular lymphoma diagnosis has come to an end. I recently learned that I needed to start treatment. In this video, I will take you through round one and what that entailed physically, mentally, and emotionally. Welcome to the Dress Up Mom. If you're already a subscriber, thank you and I love you. If you haven't subscribed, please do and tap the bell for notifications. Just about 2 years ago, I was diagnosed with follicular lymphoma on a fluke when I went in for a CT scan for something completely unrelated. Follicular lymphoma is a low-grade, non-aggressive, non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. It is considered a chronic cancer that can't be cured, only managed. I did a whole video on my diagnosis, which I will link here. My lymphoma was discovered in my abdomen and back area, kind of the back part of my abdomen and in my back, the lymph nodes there. At the time, the tumors were small enough to where they weren't causing any damage and I didn't have any symptoms. So we went into what is called a watchful waiting period. What that meant is every 6 months I would go in and have blood work and have an appointment with my oncologist, and then once a year they would do the scan again to see how things were progressing. My first CT scan a year after I was diagnosed, the tumors had shrunk. I was like so excited. The doctor said, okay, that's fine, but this does happen. They can fluctuate. I didn't think a whole lot about this in between visits. I should mention that I have one of the top 10 lymphoma oncologists in the world, and I'm so grateful for that. The other doctors call him the Pope, and I have been counseled to just listen and do whatever he says. This has honestly been a source of comfort for sure. When I went in for the scan this year, which has an IV injection of contrast, the woman really poked me and it hurt when it went in. Something in my body said, this isn't the first of the poking, and I kind of had this weird feeling like something was up. Sure enough, I got in my portal the test results which said enlarging mass. Kind of knew this couldn't be good. And luckily my appointment with my oncologist was only a couple days later. And sure enough, when I got in there, he said the tumors had gotten of a size where we needed to start treatment. Before it could sink in at all, very matter-of-factly, he started to describe the treatment. I would be getting a combination of Rituxan, a monoclonal antibody, which is a form of immunotherapy, and bendamustine chemo. He said there would be one long day, like 6 to 8 hours of infusion, and then a second day right after, much shorter, like about an hour to 2 of infusion. And this would repeat once a month for 6 months. The goal is to shrink the tumors really small so that then they go into remission and very, very, very slowly grow back, and I'm in remission for a long time. He told me that the odds of this happening were very good and that this particular treatment was supposed to be a bit milder and not horrible side effects. Some nausea, flu-like symptoms, possible rashes, and maybe gout as the tumors were breaking up. No hair loss. He said that I would be immune compromised because my blood count might dip. I will need to stay away from crowds, anybody who is potentially sick, and wear a mask. Well, I was in a bit of shock, but I did have some questions in mind that I had been thinking of. I asked if all of my tumors had been biopsied a couple of years ago, and he said no, they only take a sampling of them because there could be a lot of these tumors throughout my body. Is there a possibility that this could be something else other than follicular lymphoma? Yes, he said, but he didn't think so. We will do a scan halfway through to make sure it's working, and if not, we're going to do more biopsies. I asked him to show me where in my body this enlarging mass was, and he said it's in the back of my abdomen where I can't see or feel it. Since I had a PET scan a couple years ago, does that rule out any other kind of cancer? He said yes and no. I right away kind of expressed the horrible thought that I could also have something else. And he said, you know, it's enough to have this for now. This is a good time to mention that my husband Doug had stage 4 throat cancer 13 years ago. Thank God he's cured, but his treatment was brutal. I reminded the doctor of this, and he said that my treatment is way different. My husband's was like a bomb, and mine is more like a hammer. I asked if I would be able to continue working, and he said yes, particularly remotely, and I'm very, very lucky I have a job that I can do remotely. I felt fine and never would have gone in. My back had been hurting a little bit, but you know, that happens with me periodically. I asked the oncologist if maybe my backache was part of this, and he said, we'll see. The last thing the doctor did is look me in the eye and said, now, don't worry about this. Yeah, right. I come from a long line of worriers. It has been a very reassuring thought, though, especially coming from the Pope, and I have come back to that statement multiple times throughout my treatment as I've been getting frightened. We had a family trip planned to Two Bunch Palms, a wellness resort out in the Palm Springs area, for like a month from then. I was really looking forward to it, to sharing the experience with our son and daughter. Doug and I had gone the year before and really loved it. I had hoped that I could start treatment after that trip, have a little trip in about a month, start treatment. But no, the doctor told me that we needed to start treatment earlier than that because these tumors were getting a little bit big. I was actually booked for my first round the Monday after I saw him, like 1 week from there. We canceled the trip, and I'm using that as an incentive and something that we do when I'm over all of this. I got in my head right away. Fear. Am I going to die from this? Would they find something else? Is it going to be super unpleasant? How debilitating would it be? I just kind of felt damaged in a way. I have the most amazing family, friends, and work colleagues. I got so many encouraging messages, gifts, homemade food, offers to help, and I felt very loved and supported. I was supposed to drink lots of water, so my daughter bought me this container that keeps the water cold and is the amount I should drink every day. She also got me motivational stickers I put on the book I'm using to keep notes on treatment, meds, etc. She was living with us at the time, which was really a godsend, and it was so nice having her with us for round 1. I felt very sad, afraid, and at times angry over this week. But most of the time I was busy prepping work and also just getting ready for the treatment, which was a good thing. It took my mind off of all of this for a little bit. I picked up 2 prescriptions for nausea, Zofran and Compazine, and allopurinol to help prevent gout. I also went and did my blood work, which I need to do like a day or 2 before every round. I made arrangements at work to take the entire week off for this first cycle just to see how I'm feeling, and I just didn't want to have to kind of think about work as I'm figuring out this whole plan. I was hoping that next time and the rest of the rounds I will be able to only take like a couple days, but I did look into intermittent leave and that kind of thing, so I know what to do about all of that if needed. This all kept me very busy, and before I knew it, it was the weekend before my treatment. The quickness of all of this really did kind of freak me out a little bit, but at the same time, I was glad I didn't have to think about this too long, the fear of the unknown. I had to keep reminding myself that there's really nothing that's known. Everyone kept telling me that it's important to stay positive, and I really have been trying. Having gone through this with my husband, I know that there's a lot of guessing and there's nothing definitive about this. And once you get on the train and keep, and start the treatments, you kind of never know where it's going to end up. I leaned in very heavily on my faith, meditation, and yoga breathing. Our son was traveling and unreachable until the day before I was having my treatment. I did let him know that, and I know it was pretty shocking. He also felt very far away. We're in California. He's in New York, so that was kind of a bummer. I did feel really bad for my kids because they went through this 13 years ago with their dad, and now with me, yuck. Having been in the caregiver role too, I know that that's no fun and is also very stressful. My back was still hurting, and I thought, gosh, is this from the tension? I did go back to my portal and look at the measurements of this enlarging mass. And I realized that when I converted it, one of the tumors is actually like 4 inches. Seemed kind of big to me. And if that's like pushing on my back, but again, I just had to get out of my head. I mean, your mind can just get spinning. It is such a mind game. There was also a tiny part of me that was looking forward to having a break from everything. I am constantly busy and doing something. I have very high standards and I put a lot of pressure on myself. Thinking of cancer treatment as a vacation, I mean, what is this teaching me? I gotta make some changes here in how I'm doing things. It's really a way that you start to take inventory of your life, past, present, and future. It was now Sunday night and I sort of didn't want to go to bed because I knew when I woke up in the morning, I'd have to go do this. How's it gonna feel? How bad is it going to be? How am I going to feel a week from now, a month from now? Monday morning came and we needed to be at the infusion center at 8:30 a.m. Heading off, day one, right?
That's right, day one. Best of luck.
I had been warned that this would be a very long day because they do the infusion very slowly to see how your body's going to react. I was definitely nervous. Before we left, I meditated, said the healing code prayer several times, and chanted Ho'oponopono over and over again. This is an ancient healing and cleansing ritual where you repeat over to yourself, I love you, I'm sorry, please forgive me, and thank you. I basically did this same thing over and over throughout the month whenever I was getting really anxious. I probably said these prayers and Ho'oponopono like hundreds of times throughout the month. I know that I am going through this in the most fortunate way possible. I have a very strong support system. I am not going to be financially ruined by this. I have a world-class doctor, and the infusion center actually has chairs that overlook the ocean. I can only imagine how difficult this is for a lot of people, and my heart just breaks. It really makes me want to do something about it to help. First, I need to heal myself, and then I'm going to get my philanthropy on. I experienced deja vu walking into the treatment center. It was where Doug had his treatments 13 years ago. They took me in right away, and my nurse Mariah came in and introduced herself. She was wonderful, explained everything, answered my questions, and made me feel very safe. She also gave me a booklet the nurses created called Chemotherapy and You, which is a handy guide that gives useful information on how to handle anything that might come up. I'm a student and I like having information, so this was really comforting for me. I have looked through this little book multiple times throughout the course of this month.
This is at Scripps in La Jolla, and she was just given her briefing, and they're preparing her cocktail right now.
Yep. I'm at least looking out at the ocean. I mean,
It's
you're gonna
absolutely
do this. I feel very lucky that there's
gorgeous.
to look at. So, all right. This time, I barely felt the IV going in. She started the pre-meds, Benadryl, a steroid, a stronger anti-nausea medication, and Ativan for anxiety. This little cocktail basically tricks your body to let the immunotherapy and chemo in. I also started talking to my body, asking it to let this medication in so that we could shrink the tumors and have a long remission. I prayed. I asked my dead parents, in-laws, relatives to watch over me. I really have been kind of feeling them and missing them a lot. Steroids kicked in. I was kind of hungry, so Doug went and got us something to eat. I kind of napped off and on, and before we knew it, it was done. So one down. We got home and I slept a bit. I was feeling a little queasy, so I took a little bit of the anti-nausea medication, which helped. The nurses told me that it's really important to keep ahead of it and kind of take the Zofran when you're first feeling that you have some nausea. If it doesn't work, then you take the Compazine. I was able to eat, relax, and get a good night's sleep. I woke up and I felt really good. Now, I'm a very avid yogini. I love hot yoga. I've been doing it for over 20 years. So I actually went in and did a hot yoga class. Now, I couldn't do the entire thing. I got tired and felt a little nauseous. So I did what I could, came home, took one of the nausea medicines, and felt better. I was hungry, I had a big lunch, and then it was time to go back to the infusion center again for round 2.
Mrs. Roika?
Yeah, day 2, going in day 2. A little queasy, not horrible. Let's see how this goes. I was nervous again. My blood pressure got high. I told the nurse that I had gone to a hot yoga class because I felt good. And she says, that's the steroids, honey. She suggested not doing hot yoga the day after an infusion and to eat smaller meals throughout the day. Rookie mistakes that I will not do again this next time around. I tend to really push myself, and I think this is going to teach me to, take things a little slower. I got to watch a gorgeous sunset as I was there letting the chemo into my body. I love watching the sunset over the ocean, and I hadn't seen one in a really long time. I mean, why? I live very close to the ocean, and I never take time to do this. We went home, had dinner, rested. I slept pretty well, took one of my anti-nausea medications, and woke up the following morning feeling pretty good. I went to the beach and I sat and meditated. I just stopped and observed what was going on around me. I realized how rarely I just sit quietly and observe the beauty around and all the little cool things that make life special. I realized I had gotten a bit hard. I want to let the softer side of me show more. That afternoon, Doug and I went and did a restorative yoga class, which was a much better choice. It felt really good. But that night, I could tell that the steroids and some of these stronger anti-nausea medications were wearing off. Still not horrible, but a little bit of a rougher night, even with the meds. I kept chanting my prayers, doing my yoga breathing, and this really helped. By Thursday noon, I started to feel a little yucky, even with the medications. We had planned to do a restorative yoga class again, which I thought I could do, but it was a bad idea. I was able to make it through just kind of laying there and breathing, but I gotta listen to my body, and when I'm feeling how I was, I just need to not do anything and kind of go to bed. Do you see a pattern here? I really think this cancer is here to teach me some things. I ate a little bit, took my meds, got some sleep, and woke up, and every day progressively was feeling much better. At this point, I thought, if this is it, this is really not that bad. I slowed down. I actually even read a book. I love reading, and I haven't read in a long time. I mean, why? What is wrong with me? The beginning part of the following week was great. I kind of felt good, went back to doing yoga, and I did some, fitness classes with my husband. I was working and everything was fine until day 10 after my infusion. I started feeling flu-like and got a fever. Now, the nurses had warned me to take a fever very seriously, and if my fever got to 100.4, I was supposed to go into urgent care or the emergency room. I had gotten to a little bit over 100, and I had chills, a little flu-like feeling, as well as rashes that were starting to develop. So I called the doctor's office, and they suggested that I do go to urgent care. They wanted to check for neutropenia, which can happen mid-cycle during treatment. Neutropenia involves having lower than normal levels of neutrophils, a type of white blood cell, in your blood. It's especially common among people receiving cancer treatments like chemotherapy. Neutrophils help fight infections. It can be super dangerous to get an infection if your neutrophils are low. At urgent care, they did take the fever seriously. I got in and they right away took a whole bunch of blood. They gave me an EKG. I got a chest x-ray, a urinalysis, a COVID test. It took about 4 hours, but at the end of the day, I got the results and I did not have neutropenia, thank goodness. If I had, I would have had to get admitted. The doctor prescribed a cream for the rash, and he also thought I might have picked up a virus. I told him that I had gone to, hot yoga classes and fitness classes, and he suggested not to do that and to get exercise, but do it just by myself or outside in some way. I put all my subscriptions on hold. When I was in the room in urgent care, I heard outside the nurse talking to someone saying, "Oh, there's a nice lady in room 5 with cancer and she's not feeling well." In my mind, I'm thinking, who she's talking about. Then I look up and I realize, oh my God, I'm in room 5. She's talking about me. I think I had been in a little bit of denial, and this really kind of made it sink in. Yeah, I have cancer. I rested the next couple days, but this rash was getting worse. It was kind of hot and inflamed. I took aspirin that kept sort of the fever a little bit down, and this was over the weekend. I really didn't want to bother people, but I did end up calling the on-call doctor who suggested that I take Benadryl and also thought I might need a steroid to help kind of calm this all down. I also had this severe cramping in the back of my legs, like in my calves, kind of like I had run a marathon or something, even though I had done nothing. I had been in bed most of the time. This all continued over the weekend, and on Monday morning, I called my doctor's office and they did put me on a steroid pack. They suspected that I was having some sort of an allergic reaction to one of the drugs. I made sure that the steroid pack wouldn't interfere with the treatment, and she said, no, if anything, it might help with the treatment. It did help my leg pain and some of the other stuff, but that night, a whole nother series of different kinds of rashes were appearing. I mean, at this point, I'm like, what the heck is going on? Is my body going to be able to take this? Thank goodness my husband was there reassuring me and saying all the right things. Again, a mind game. I sent pictures to the doctor and they made room for me to come in and see him. I'm glad I did. I was reminded again that the body is just such a complicated thing, and there's just a lot of guessing involved here, and you want kind of the best guesser. He thought it might be from my gout medication, so he told me to stop taking that, or it could be from the immunotherapy drug, but he was confident the steroid pack would sort of help everything out. He also told me that for the next rounds, he would give me the steroid pack in advance so that we could sort of try to nip this in the bud and have it not happen so badly and just start taking the steroids earlier. He told me that I have a strong immune system and that we would navigate this together and make sure that I'd get the treatment I need. And this is exactly what I needed to hear. Unfortunately, even with the steroid pack, these rashes were getting worse and were just spreading everywhere. The headache, low-grade fever, and this sort of nasal congestion was also getting kind of bad. By Friday, I was seeing a dermatologist who took 3 biopsies in different parts of my rashes. They gave me a big old cortisone shot in my butt. I kind of felt like a slab of meat up on this table as all of this was going on. He explained that they needed to determine whether I was having a drug reaction that was skin-based or if there was something going on in my blood. I was instructed to go to the emergency room if the rashes started spreading anywhere else. So scary. You know, I was thinking so many different things, but really I just want to be able to keep my treatment because we got to get rid of this cancer. Over the weekend, thankfully, the rash did not spread and was getting better. I still had that headache and the sinus pain, but you know, I can live with that. These weird leg muscle things, though, were very draining. I mean, I'm used to really being super active, and even with like really light stretching, tiny bit of walking, I mean, they just ache. Our daughter came over, cooked for us, kept us company. I took some naps and, you know, just tried again to stay positive. I forgot what a nice thing an afternoon nap is. Again, hadn't taken one of those for a long time. I was being forced to slow down, almost come to a halt. Following week, the rashes slowly started to fade away. So all that was left was this headache, leg pain, and thankfully Tylenol was sort of helping manage both of those. Midweek, I heard back on my biopsy results. The dermatologist told me I have vasculitis, which is an inflammation of the blood due to the chemotherapy. He referred me to a rheumatologist to see if it's affecting anything else or if I have some sort of autoimmune disease, which he thinks is probably not the case. He did tell me that none of this stops the next infusions because the priority is to get those in, get the treatment, and get the cancer shrunk. If the skin rashes happen again, I'm supposed to go in, see him again, get that shot, control it. I am seeing the rheumatologist right after I have my next infusion, so hopefully I'll learn more about this. But all of this is kind of super unnerving for a person like me, and again, it's just kind of scary. Another thing this reminded me of, and it happened during my husband's treatment, is that either you or someone close to you needs to be your own health advocate. The healthcare practitioners are lovely, but they are so overworked. This is not an excuse to be sort of mean or pushy with them, but finding a way to at least get answers and talk to them when you think something is wrong is really important. There is a battle going on in my body, and I am going to do everything I can to have my side win. I'm going to slow down, make sure I get enough sleep, eat right, no alcohol, get the exercise I'm supposed to do. I'm going to lower my stress, stay away from crowds at all, make sure that I'm masking, and just anything I can do over these next 6 months to make sure that, this all goes away or works. I don't know. I got an accommodation from work so that I don't have to go into the office or travel or anything for the next 10 months. This has honestly been great as I've been able to kind of work most of this month, and it takes my mind off of things and gives me something to do. So I'm super grateful for all of that. Oh, and right after my first treatment, my backache has gone away and hasn't come back. Stress, injury, cancer. So overall, the first round was way more challenging than I expected. I felt like it was way more than a hammer and experienced pretty much every side effect except for gout for now. I thought my life wouldn't change that much and I would kind of keep going on my own routine. Well, that's certainly not the case. I need to wrap my mind around all of this, which I will do. And again, I think it's just all trying to teach me a bunch of stuff. I got such great care from my husband, my daughter, family, and friends. And again, so grateful for that too. I'm certainly not looking forward to repeating all of this again over the next 5 months. But what am I going to do? I don't really have a choice. At least for now, I sort of know what maybe to expect. And my doctor and I are going to be kind of working out a plan to try to mitigate some of these effects. So I don't know, just keep going. I have so much more empathy now for anybody who has gone through this, including my husband. I had a lot of time to think and feel, and I feel very mortal all of a sudden. Not a bad reminder. I saw this quote on healing, which really resonated. I'm sure there are very few of you who have made it to the end of this very long-winded video, and that's okay. I'm sharing all of this because getting it out and documenting it makes me feel better, and I want to be able to go back and view this myself later. If by any chance anybody that's watching this is going through something similar, I hope that this makes you realize that you're not alone. I'll probably come back and do an update when I'm halfway through, especially after the scan, when we find out if this is all working. It's all still a little bit scary, I'm not gonna lie. Do you or someone you know have follicular lymphoma? If so, what has been your experience? I would love to know this in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Until next time, have fun and dress it up a little.